If a young man dies mysteriously on the streets, will his grieving father choose to painfully end the rest of his life? Or will he do whatever it takes to find the murderer and exact revenge? He is a man who works in the early hours of the morning, specializing in plowing snow in a small Nordic town to clear drivable roads for the residents. His house sits on a snow-covered mountainside, and he has a happy family of 3. Because this man named Nels works diligently at his snowplowing job every day, he was even awarded the town's Citizen of the Year award. However, just such an honest and dutiful man is about to encounter a massive upheaval. His son Kyle works as a ground crew member at the airport. This night, as Kyle is getting ready to clock out in the break room, a man with a gun suddenly appears in front of him. He's hooded by several gangster thugs and taken onto a van. And tied up in the vehicle with him is his colleague Dante. The van speeds along the road. Kyle, who was kidnapped for no apparent reason, is injected with a high-strength dose of toxic agents by the gang. At this moment, Dante takes advantage of the others being distracted to suddenly pull open the door and jump out. The van hurriedly comes to a stop. Speedo gets out of the vehicle and fires wildly at Dante, who is fleeing for his life. Because it was late at night, Speedo couldn't see clearly, so Dante managed to escape with his life. In the early morning, the van arrives in the city center. The gangster thugs place the already unconscious Kyle onto a bench. To avoid drawing attention, they even pretended to chat with him for a while before abandoning him and driving away. In fact, this poor young man has already been dead for quite some time. Nels and his wife see their son's body in the morgue. This old couple cannot say a single word amidst their shock and pain. And the words spoken by the sheriff beside them strike them like a bolt of lightning.
He died of a heroin overdose.
Nels feels that something is wrong, because he knows his son never had those bad habits.
Excuse me. Kyle wasn't a druggie.
Sorry, but all the parents say that.
He wasn't a druggie.
The son's death also creates a rift between the husband and wife. His wife Grace complains that Nels did not know their son at all, and she vents her immense grief and indignation onto Nels. But as a mother, how much did she really know about her own son? Nels says nothing. At this moment, he does not want to explain or quarrel, so he can only silently endure it all. As an old man already in his 50s, having to bid a premature farewell to his son at this moment is the greatest pain in the world. His heart feels like a place swept by the cold winds of the snowy mountains, bone-chillingly cold without a trace of warmth. He returns to the Snowplow base late at night because there are some things he does not want to do at home. He takes a swig of strong liquor, then takes out a rifle and places the muzzle into his own mouth. Right now, he just wants to end his miserable and hopeless life with a single shot. But just at this moment, a noise suddenly comes from the corner. A filthy person crawls out from behind the cabinet. Nels recognizes at a glance that this blood-covered man is none other than his son's colleague, Dante. Dante keeps saying sorry to Nels, and he finally reveals the true reason for Kyle's death. It turns out that Dante stole the gang's contraband, and when the gangsters were catching him, they mistakenly took Kyle as an accomplice. But unexpectedly, Dante was the one who survived in the end. Enraged, Nels grabs this scumbag by the neck, forcing him to answer who exactly killed his son.
Speedo! There's a guy named Speedo!
Speedo!
He's the only one I know!
Tell me where I can find this guy, and then you get the hell out of here.
He gets the name and address of one of the gang members out of him. With anger burning in his chest, Nels immediately drives over there. He arrives at a lively bar. With the help of the security guard, he finally spots Speedo, the scum who injected his son with the contraband substance. Seeing that Speedo is about to leave, Nels follows him all the way. He follows Speedo into the elevator.
Dante says hello.
I don't know any Dantes.
No matter how Nels questions him, Speedo refuses to answer. Not wanting to waste too much time with this old man, he flashes the pistol at his waist. He thinks he has scared the old man, but he cannot imagine just how strong the rage of a father who has lost his son truly is. After a severe beating, Nels drags Speedo to his car. He searches Speedo and finds his mobile phone. Under his interrogation, he extracts the name of Speedo's superior. Seeing that no more useful information can be gained from Speedo, Nels decides to send this scum on his way. He was originally a law-abiding man, but some things, and some people, can turn a sheep into a wolf. Nels strangled Speedo to death. Subsequently, he wrapped Speedo's body in chicken wire and threw it into the great waterfall. He returned home. Grace sat there silently without saying a word. Even if Nels spoke to her, she ignored him. After Kyle's death, the already fragile relationship between the couple has basically vanished completely. After the early hours, Nels would still come to the base as usual. This night, he sawed off the barrel and stock of his Winchester Model 70 rifle, turning it into a short gun that could be kept in his jacket. Then he found the bridal shop where Speedo's superior was located. The shop owner, Limbo, knew the old man who walked in had bad intentions as soon as he saw him. After all, bridal shops usually cater to women or young men, and this old man is also clutching his coat tightly. So Limbo asked Nels to wait a moment while he finished attending to the female customer in the shop first. Limbo observed Nels's every move from time to time. Finally, the female customer was seen off, and now only these two men remained in the shop.
It's not a wedding. My wife and I were renewing our vows.
Limbo saw at a glance that Nels was lying, and then he walked behind the cashier counter. Nels smashed Limbo with the gun barrel until he spat blood. Under the threat of force, Nels learned about the smuggler who specialized in transporting contraband. It seems that these people all belong to a large gang organization. Limbo begged Nels not to kill him. Nels hesitated for a while and decided to leave. But he suddenly asked Limbo a question.
Greatest quarterback ever. Elway or Manning?
Elway?
Limbo's answer was correct, but he still had to die. Because no matter what he said, Nels would shoot. And the method of disposing of this body was still the old way. Nels arrived at the airport and waited for that smuggler, Santa. He drove the snowplow all the way behind Santa's Jeep. The speed got faster and faster, full of oppressive force. Santa saw that the snowplow behind was about to crash into him. But strangely, the snowplow drove away at a turn. The puzzled Santa breathed a sigh of relief. But before he had driven much further, that snowplow suddenly appeared at the end of the road. Nels got out of the vehicle and came to the front of Santa's car. He wanted Santa to back up, otherwise his snowplow could not get through. But Santa looked back at the road, which was obviously very wide, so there was no need to back up at all. Santa realized that Nels was deliberately picking a fight, so he took out a banknote and handed it over, wanting to solve the problem with money. After all, there were more important goods on his car that needed to be transported right now. Nels beat Santa until his nose bled, and he himself was panting from exhaustion, but he continued to punch Santa's face heavily. He needed to know who the big boss behind the scenes really was. But Santa's mouth was tougher than the previous two men who had died, and he refused to reveal anything, even mocking Nels loudly. Just when Santa thought this old man could do nothing to him, Nels took that gun out from his coat again. Nels found a full case of contraband on the car. Since he could not find the main culprit, he would not keep these harmful things either. He punctured all the bags and scattered the contraband into the snow. Then he used his snowplow and rammed Santa's Jeep into the air, and the body was disposed of the same way as the others. Late at night, Nels returned home. To make matters worse, his wife had already left this cold home. She took all the clothes from the closet. She also left a letter for Nels on the bed. But when Nels opened the letter, it was completely blank. This blank paper indicated that their marital relationship had long been hollowed out by the inertia of life, leaving only unspeakable disappointment and estrangement. Nels drove to the front of a luxurious villa. Living here is his cousin Brock. Brock was once a gang enforcer too, so Nels came over specifically to ask Brock who the power behind his son's murder might be. While Brock went to make a call to ask about the situation, the woman sitting in the living room staring at him kept filing her nails with a nail file. A moment later, Brock returned, and the matter he inquired about had a result. It turned out that the boss of the syndicate that killed Kyle is a man nicknamed Viking, who controls the most powerful smuggling ring in the city. Nels wanted to take revenge, but Brock felt that Nels simply could not do this, as Viking has many underlings around him, and Nels, an ordinary old man, could not even get close. He suggested that Nels spend money to hire a professional hitman, while he himself just waited at home to watch the news. Moreover, Nels has already killed 3 of Viking's subordinates, so Viking must be exploding with rage right now. Brock was right, And at this moment, Viking is flying into a rage. His 3 subordinates are missing, a kilogram of the goods is gone, and he still has no idea who did it. Viking feels that anyone capable of taking out 3 of his men is certainly no ordinary person. He suddenly thinks of the Ute tribe members who have always been at odds with them. The more he thinks about it, the more he feels it was their doing. He feels the need to reclaim his territory and his dignity, so he sends 2 subordinates to kill their gang members and snatch back the goods. So his 2 subordinates lie in wait at the airport parking lot. When a Ute tribesman gets off a plane and into a car, they follow him. They kidnap this Ute man and bring him before Viking. Viking does not say a word, pulling out his pistol and shooting this man dead, and he even ties the body to a road sign on the snowy mountain. He does not realize that this move has truly enraged a group of people. The elders of the Ute tribe are standing on the opposite hillside with their clansmen. It turns out that this Ute man Viking killed was no ordinary thug. He was the biological son of the tribal chief, White Bull. With this, a blood feud has been forged between the 2 gangs, the kind that will not end until one side is wiped out.
What are we going to do?
At this time, Nels does not know that he has unintentionally ignited a war between 2 gang groups. With his cousin's help, he finds a hitman in the city named the Eskimo. The 2 of them take a taxi together to discuss business. They find a shabby little motel, and the price Nels negotiates with the Eskimo is $90,000. According to custom, he is supposed to pay half the deposit first. But unexpectedly, the Eskimo suddenly pulls out a pistol and presses it against his chin, demanding 2/3 as a deposit. Left with no choice, Nels can only take out another stack of bills and give it to the Eskimo. Despite the Eskimo's solemn guarantees, he turns around and goes straight to Viking. He explains his purpose directly, stating that someone wants to pay him $90,000 to assassinate Viking, and that this person was not sent by the Ute tribe. Seeing that Viking is interested in what he is saying, the Eskimo then quotes a price to Viking as well, asking him to also pay $90,000 to buy the employer's name. Viking is amused by this Eskimo who tries to play both sides, as it is the first time he has seen someone dare to make such extortionate demands in front of him. However, Viking does not care about this small amount of money, so he directly orders his subordinate to pay the money to the Eskimo. The Eskimo then reveals that name.
Guy's name is Coxman.
Viking immediately thought of the gang figure Brock Coxman, but he had never dealt with the man and didn't understand why Brock would want him dead. Seeing that he has made his money, the Eskimo gets up to leave, but Viking suddenly stops him. Hearing that, the Eskimo realized he wasn't walking out alive, and his own greed had sealed his fate. Meanwhile, Nels is still at home, anxiously waiting for the results. He checks for news of Viking online, only to find that not only is he alive and well, but he is also partying everywhere and living quite comfortably. Nels does not know that he has not only been swindled out of a large sum of money, but has also doomed his own cousin. Inside his mansion, Brock sees a car pull up to the gate. When he sees that the person sitting in the car is Viking, he knows his end has come. He takes one last affectionate look at An standing by the window, then resolutely gets into Viking's car. Brock takes the blame for the deaths of those 3 gang members entirely on himself, attributing the cause to grievances from the previous generation of their 2 families. He does not betray his cousin Nels. Nels's enemy is not dead, yet he has lost another relative. He and An stand quietly in front of Brock's grave. Just as he is grieving, An beside him suddenly spits fiercely on the grave, then walks away cursing while dragging her suitcase. Nels remains standing in front of the grave for a long time. It seems that some things can only be done by himself. He quietly finds Viking's home and secretly observes the situation inside from a distance on the estate. It is only then that he discovers Viking has a son in elementary school. Perhaps this child is a breakthrough point. On the other side, Viking learns that he killed the wrong Ute tribesman, and to avoid causing massive casualties, he decides to sue for peace with the other side. He thinks he only killed a minor thug of the Ute tribe, so being ruthless, he directly shoots and kills Dexter to serve as a scapegoat. He orders his men to send Dexter's head to the Ute tribe as a gift of apology. While making these arrangements, he does not notice that the face of his personal bodyguard, Mustang, looks terribly grim. It turns out that Dexter and Mustang were actually close friends with a deep bond, and the 2 had planned to retire in 2 years and travel somewhere. It seems that this lifelong dream has been shattered right there. Sly, sent by Viking, arrives at the Ute tribe's territory carrying a large gift box. He lifts Dexter's head out of it and places it in front of White Bull. Sly conveys Viking's message, which is that the murderer has been eliminated and he now wants to restore peace between the two sides. White Bull asks Sly to come a little closer, as if he has something to whisper to him.
But I need a son for a son.
He shoots Sly, the messenger sent by Viking, dead with one shot. This war is inevitable. Now, lying on the ground of their base is a corpse and a severed head. White Bull tells his men to dispose of them quickly, or they will start to stink. But they all thought it was too dirty and didn't want to touch it, pushing responsibility back and forth, even trying to make a nearby woman do it. On the other side, Nels finds the school where Viking's son Ryan attends. At school dismissal time, he finds Ryan and pretends to be his father's subordinate coming to pick him up. Ryan sees the old man wearing a suit and does not look like a bad guy, so he gets into the car with Nels. Nels brings Ryan back to his own home. At this moment, Ryan also realizes that the uncle before him is not one of his father's men, but he is not afraid. On the contrary, he feels it is novel, because Nels does not make him feel danger or discomfort, and is even a little bit approachable. When it is time to sleep at night, Nels lets Ryan stay in his son's room. Just as he wants to leave, Ryan asks him to stay and tell him a bedtime story. Having not told a story to a child for decades, Nels has no choice but to pick up a Snowplow manual and start reading it to Ryan. But unexpectedly, Ryan listens with keen interest to such boring mechanical content. Nels reads to Ryan for a long time. Just as he prepares to turn off the light, Ryan suddenly lies down in his arms. Perhaps Ryan experiences a fatherly love in Nels that he has never had before. Nels feels a mixture of emotions, as his own son is dead. Yet now, his enemy's son lies in his arms. Perhaps Ryan reminds him of his own young son, that boy who also used to act spoiled in his arms and was equally defenseless against the world. What he sees is not the descendant of an enemy, but an innocent child, just like his son. And at this moment, Viking is also searching everywhere for his son's whereabouts. He finds the school security guard, and this witness saw the snowplow driver Nels take Ryan away. Only now does Viking suddenly realize that there is another Coxman, and this person is the one who really wants his life. Because he revealed this important information, the security guard demands $10,000. You can imagine his consequences. Viking immediately takes a large group of men and rushes to the snowy mountain, finding Nels's house. But when they rush in, they discover that it is completely empty inside. And Viking discovers his son's school bag inside the house. It seems the security guard was right, and his son has indeed been kidnapped by Nels. Mustang finds a photo in the drawer, and the snowplow on it has the name of the base written on it. And the address of the base is on the mountaintop not far away, so Viking sets off again with his large troop. What he does not know is that behind his back, Mustang secretly makes a phone call, telling the Ute tribe the location Viking is going to. He wants to avenge his lover. And Nels is indeed waiting on the mountaintop, spotting Viking's convoy heading this way through the scope of his sniper rifle. He knows a great battle is about to happen. So Nels hurriedly takes Ryan into the workshop and hides him in a metal cabinet on the second floor. Then Nels crawled into the space beneath the snowplow, waiting for the enemies to arrive. Before long, Viking's convoy arrives at the entrance of the base. Hiding under the vehicle, Nels aims his gun at his enemy. Just as he is preparing to exact his revenge, a gun is suddenly pressed against his temple. It turns out that Viking's subordinate circled to the back door and found him. Nels is brought before Viking. At this point, the two enemies who have never met finally see each other face to face. Viking punches Nels hard as soon as he approaches. Just as he is interrogating this old man about where his son is, he does not know that on the snow path behind him, a convoy is slowly approaching, and the person in the car extends a pistol toward him. The two major gangs formally begin a shootout. Seeing the situation is bad, Nels quickly hides behind a vehicle. The battle in front of the base is exceptionally intense, but White Bull sits in the car motionless, as it is not yet time for him to act. Seeing that the people on both sides are almost all dead, White Bull finally opens the car door. He shoots at Viking continuously, wanting to kill this bastard with his own hands. and Nels also runs back into the garage, drives his snowplow straight out, and crashes head-on into Viking's SUV. Seeing Viking dodge the impact and run toward his Cadillac, Nels cannot let him escape so easily, so he gets into another tracked tree harvester. The one thing he is not lacking here is heavy machinery. He cuts down a thick tree with the harvester and blocks Viking, who is trying to drive away. The tree trunk fiercely pierces through the Cadillac, but even so, Viking, with his strong desire to survive, still wants to force the car to drive away. But when he looks ahead, he suddenly freezes, as a bullet has pierced his chest. It turns out that the one standing in front of him is White Bull, who has finally killed his enemy with his own hands. Nels also comes to the front of the car and looks at the dead Viking inside. To this point, the two old men have finally avenged their sons. Seeing that his wish is fulfilled, Nels drives his snowplow once again. It is about to get dark, and he wants to plow the snow one last time. On the road amidst wind and snow, a person suddenly climbs into his cabin. It turns out to be White Bull. The two do not have a direct grudge, so White Bull puts down his pistol. The two men sit in the snowplow just like that, clearing a path for the convoy behind them. The snowy mountain is still battered by wind and snow. The small town returns to its former tranquility, but human desire and violence never truly disappear. They simply wait for another crack to erupt through again. Just like this wind and snow will never stop, the snowplow must keep working. All the ugliness, darkness, and bloodshed will be buried again and again, year after year, beneath the white snow. Nothing will ever change.